Dexter Resurrection S1 officially repeats Major Harrison complaint from New Blood. You know what still keeps me up at night? That after all these years, after Dexter went through 2 separate finales and now a complete resurrection, the franchise is still repeating the same mistake that has haunted it since New Blood. And here's the kicker. This mistake isn't just some nitpicky detail. No, it's the kind of thing that threatens to undermine the entire point of Resurrection's story. Because while Resurrection fixed so many of New Blood's sins, it also chose to completely ignore one of the darkest, most forbidden shadows in Harrison's life. And I have to ask, why would a show obsessed with family leave out 2 of Harrison's most important family members? Seriously, Astor and Cody. Remember them, Rita's kids, Dexter's stepchildren, Harrison's half-siblings, completely vanished like they were erased from existence. And here's where it gets eerie. Resurrection is literally a season about family, about reconnecting, about how love and bloodlines intertwine with the darkness inside us. And yet, the 2 kids who represent half of Harrison's bloodline, not even a whisper, not even a throwaway line. And I can't stop asking myself, is this just lazy writing, or is it something more? Let me back up, because if you're new here, welcome, I'm Sophia, and this is Breakdown Epic. We dive deeper than anyone else dares, because if there's a forbidden corner of a franchise, you bet we're shining a light on it. And before we get any deeper into this mess, do me one favor, hit subscribe right now. Because trust me, by the end of this breakdown, you'll never look at Harrison the same way again, okay? So, back to the haunting question. Why does Dexter Resurrection refuse to deal with Astor and Cody? Let's be real. This isn't the first time the franchise has pulled this vanishing act. Dexter New Blood did the exact same thing. Remember how Harrison crossed the entire country to find Dexter in Iron Lake? He was determined, obsessed, and desperate to reconnect with the father he barely knew. And yet in all that time, not once did he try to reach out to Astor or Cody. Not even a Facebook message, not a phone call, nothing. And what makes it worse is that New Blood pretended to be about family. Dexter was lecturing Harrison on responsibility, about the mistakes he'd made as a father, about wanting to be present. But present for who? Just Harrison. The writers acted like Astor and Cody didn't even exist, like Rita never had kids before Dexter. And Resurrection doubled down on that mistake. And here's where I get angry, because Resurrection was supposed to be the fix. It gave us a more fitting ending. It redeemed the mess of New Blood. But instead of learning from its predecessor, it repeated its most damning oversight. Think about it. We had an entire season about Dexter and Harrison rebuilding their bond. We had themes of legacy, sins passed down through blood, and the idea that love and family are both a blessing and a curse. But doesn't all of that ring a little hollow when half of the Morgan, Bennett family tree is erased? Let me put it in personal terms. Imagine growing up knowing your mom died horrifically, and that your dad abandoned your siblings to go live with a new family, only to later be hunted as a serial killer. Now imagine you're Harrison. Are we really supposed to believe he wouldn't at least wonder about Astor and Cody? That he wouldn't want answers about Rita, about the family he never got to grow up with? This is the contradiction that Resurrection cannot run from. On the one hand, it tells us family is everything. On the other, it leaves out 2 people who are literally tied to Harrison's DNA. And here's where the suspense builds, because I have a theory, one that might explain why the writers refused to bring them up. But fair warning, it's not pretty. In fact, it might change how you see Harrison's journey going forward. Before we unlock that secret though, I want to throw this question to you. Do you think Astor and Cody should have been part of Resurrection's story, or is the show better off leaving them out? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because honestly, I think the fandom is split here. Some people believe the siblings are irrelevant, while others, like me, think their absence is a gaping hole in the heart of this franchise. Now, here's the forbidden knowledge. The detail that makes this whole situation even darker. Dexter didn't just abandon Astor and Cody after Rita's death. He chose to cut himself out of their lives. Remember, they went to live with their grandparents. Dexter rationalized it as, for the best. But in reality, it was another one of his cowardly escapes. And if we know anything about Dexter, it's that his choices always come back to haunt the people he loves. Which begs the question, could Astor and Cody eventually return not as Harrison's allies, but as his enemies? Think about the storytelling symmetry. Harrison finally embraces his father's darkness, finally accepts his legacy, and just when he's ready to move forward, boom, the siblings appear, carrying their own trauma, their own anger, and their own need for closure. Suddenly, Harrison isn't just haunted by Dexter's sins. He's forced to face the family he never acknowledged. But here's the nightmare scenario that no one wants to admit. What if the writers keep ignoring them in season 2? What if Harrison's entire arc continues without ever addressing the siblings who share his bloodline? If that happens, then Dexter Resurrection risks becoming just as hollow as New Blood. And that's the problem we're left with right now. A show that claims family is everything, but quietly erases half the family from existence. So what's really going on here? Is it a narrative oversight, a production choice? Or, dare I say it, could it be intentional, part of a long game that the writers don't want us to see yet? Hold on to that thought, because in the next section, we're going to dig into the secrets the writers don't want you to think about. The hidden connections, the narrative cracks, and the forbidden possibilities that could reshape season 2 entirely. And trust me, You're not ready for where this goes next. Alright, let's break open the vault. Because here's the forbidden knowledge that no one wants to talk about. Harrison's story isn't complete, not even close, until Astor and Cody step back into it, and the longer the writers avoid them, the more obvious it becomes that we're missing the most explosive piece of this puzzle. See, the ending of Resurrection Season 1 gave us closure, but it also left us with silence. And in storytelling, silence is never just silence, it's a scream waiting to be heard. Let me hit you with a theory that's been gnawing at me ever since the credits rolled. What if the writers are saving Astor and Cody as Harrison's true test in Season 2? Think about it. Harrison has already faced Dexter. He's already grappled with the idea that darkness runs in his blood. But facing siblings who represent the part of his life Dexter abandoned, that's a whole different monster. That's not about Dexter's sins anymore. It's about Harrison's ability to confront the family trauma he inherited but never lived through. Imagine Astor showing up, bitter, scarred, carrying years of resentment not just toward Dexter, but toward Harrison who got the father she never had. Imagine Cody older now, shaped by grief and silence, demanding answers Harrison can't give. Would they see him as a brother? Or as a living reminder of everything Dexter destroyed? This is the story that could turn Resurrection from good sequel into masterpiece. But here's the danger. The writers might not have the courage to go there. And that brings us to the uncomfortable truth. If Resurrection ignores Astor and Cody again, it risks becoming a hollow echo of New Blood. Sure, it'll look better, feel cleaner, maybe even trick us into thinking it's deeper. But without that confrontation, Harrison's arc will never be complete. Now, let's flip it around for a second. Hypothetical time. What if you were Harrison? Imagine discovering not only that your dad was the Bay Harbor butcher, but that you had two half-siblings out there who lived through that nightmare, and you never once reached out to them. Wouldn't that eat you alive? Or would you bury it, the same way Dexter buried everything he couldn't face? Drop your answer in the comments, because I honestly want to see where the fandom stands on this. Would Harrison be stronger if he confronted his siblings, or weaker? Would Astor and Cody be his salvation, or his undoing? And here's me being brutally honest. If I were Harrison, I'd probably do what he's doing. Pretend they don't exist. Because let's face it, family drama is already messy enough. Add in serial killers, abandoned siblings, and decades of trauma. Yeah, I'd probably just binge Netflix and hope nobody finds me. But that's exactly why the writers can't let him off the hook. Because Harrison pretending Astor and Cody don't exist makes him just like Dexter. Running, avoiding, excusing. And if Resurrection is about breaking that cycle, then the siblings are the key. Quick callback. Remember in one of our earlier breakdowns when we talked about how every choice Dexter ever made eventually circled back and exploded in his face? This is that cycle all over again. Dexter cut himself out of Astor and Cody's lives, and now Harrison is unknowingly repeating the same mistake. The show has a chance to turn that into poetic symmetry, but will it? Let me drop another forbidden possibility here. What if Astor and Cody already know about Harrison? What if they've been watching from afar waiting, processing their own trauma, and the silence we've seen is actually the calm before the storm? Imagine Season 2 opening with Harrison finally feeling safe, only for Astor to knock on the door. No introduction, no warning, just, we need to talk. That's the kind of shock the show needs. Not another random villain of the week. Not another recycled killer. Family is the real villain here. Family is the monster that Dexter never truly defeated. And here's where I want to pull you in again. Poll time. If Astor and Cody return, should they come back as Harrison's allies, helping him heal and grow? Or should they come back as his enemies, ready to expose him, maybe even turn him into the monster they always feared Dexter was? Tell me below, because the comments are where the real debates happen. Now, because this is Breakdown Epic, I can't resist a little humor to lighten the darkness. Picture Harrison trying to explain his family tree to a therapist. Yeah, so my dad was a serial killer, my mom was murdered in a bathtub, I've got two half-siblings I've never met, and oh yeah, I tried to kill my dad before he killed me. Totally normal, right? Even Freud would have said, yeah, kid, that's above my pay grade. And yet, that absurdity is why we love this franchise. It's messy, it's twisted, it's human. But if the show keeps pretending Astor and Cody don't exist, it's not just messy, it's dishonest. So let me loop this back to where we started. The ending of Resurrection Season 1 felt satisfying, yes. But it also screamed one thing in silence: this story isn't finished. Harrison can't truly move forward until he confronts his past. And his past isn't just Dexter, it's Astor Cody, and everything Rita left behind. And here's my bold prediction. Bookmark this video, because I'm calling it now. If Astor and Cody appear in Season 2, the entire fandom will split. Half will see it as the most brilliant move the franchise ever made. The other half will call it unnecessary. And the debates will rage harder than the arguments over New Blood's finale. But at least it would mean the writers had the courage to face the ghosts they've been ignoring. So here's my closing challenge to you. If you were in the writer's room, would you bring Astor and Cody back? And if so, how? As allies, enemies, or something in between? Drop your pitch in the comments, because I'm going to be reading them. And honestly, some of the best theories always come from you. And if you made it this far, you already know. This story is just getting started. Season 2 can't afford to repeat the sins of the past. And neither can we. I'm Sophia, this is Breakdown Epic, and I'll see you in the next one. And hey, if Harrison ever does reunite with Astor and Cody,